The best days at the cabin are the days when all 4 of us are there. Well, 5 of us with Colt. This week at the cabin, we are still working on our hardwood floors and we are spending time preparing firewood.
We're gonna have a secured load here. Lesson in load securement. There.
Oh, okay.
Now if it bounces, that one will hold it. If it slides, this one will hold it.
Ethan drove the 4-wheeler and our small load of supplies back to the cabin as Nora, Corey, and I decided to walk. It's the perfect time of year to walk through the woods. The cabin! And we were taking full advantage. It's fall, y'all. We're back at the cabin with the whole family today, and we're excited to putty the floors and sand the floors so that we can hopefully finish everything on the floors between this weekend and next weekend. And then the cabin will be ready to go for the winter, for moving back in and getting everything all cozy and working on other projects that are also going to be really fun for the winter. We stayed in the camper last night up in the yard. We got here pretty late, so we just played some games and hung out, and then we had breakfast this morning.
Hot take, but I think Netflix needs to put the Titanic back on.
No.
1.
He's staring at me. We are not only going to be working on the floors, but we're also going to be working on some firewood, so we have wood to burn for the winter. Ideally, of course, we know that we should be prepping our firewood a year, if not 2 years in advance to burn, but we're doing the best that we can. The floors turned out beautiful. If you didn't watch our last video, we installed hardwood floors in our cabin that look awesome, and now we just have to do those other things like sanding and puttying and staining and poly and stuff like that.
No, you can't come up here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro.
Is the generator not starting?
I'll have to switch off.
Oh man.
Oh, that's fair.
Corey's gonna run to the yard to get jumper cables. We have a little switch on our generator that if you leave it on, there's a little light that stays on. So we did that, and I guess it drained the battery on the generator, so he's just gonna figure that out. I'm getting a fire started. We have to warm up the cabin a little bit because the temperature for the putty and the stains and stuff, you have to have a certain temperature inside the cabin. Especially an iron head up there. Crocs will be okay too. Mark, how are your shoes?
Yeah?
I think it's kind of funny that the whole room is empty except for the rocking chair and Nora.
It's pretty important.
And I never sit like this with my feet down. I always sit like this or like this or like
Yeah.
that.
This rocking chair is sturdy enough where you can do that. The other one might fall apart. We're gonna finish puttying the rest of the cabin and then sanding over there.
Are you the rivers in your veins? Am I the flakes that become snow? And you might believe that everything is broken. Fragments of sentences we haven't spoken, but maybe are we
This
just
whole room has been puttied. Nice work. What do you think, Colt? Sad. What are you doing?
Changing the sanding pad, but the screws that they used
Or a different size bit?
seem like the right size, but
Have you guys ever realized how many mosquitoes are in this window?
Like dead ones? Or alive ones?
4, 5, 6, 7. Dude, you guys got a mosquito collection.
Are they dead?
No?
Oh gosh.
They're all alive. Like this guy.
Oh, I can see it moving. Man. That can be made into firewood. That can be made into firewood. There's a lot back there that can be made into firewood. When we started making this cabin, we knew we needed to get the floors and the walls and the roof done the first summer so that it wouldn't get snowed on and destroyed the first winter that we had here after starting the cabin. But ever since then, we've definitely slowed down our pace. When we started this cabin, we were here every single weekend and even days during the week to try and get everything done. If we had something going on during the weekend, we would for sure come during the week because we wanted to get the walls up, the roof on, the walls on, the windows in. The wood floors we knew were going to be multiple weekends in a row, and once you start, you've got to do the whole thing, otherwise you could ruin the floors if you're using them before you finish them. So we've put a lot of time and thought into when we were going to do the floors, and it feels good to finally be doing that. We're currently sanding everything, and then we will put a layer of finish on, and then actually I think we have like a pre-finish layer, like a primer or a wood conditioner, and then let that dry and then finish and let that dry and finish and let that dry, and that should hopefully be a lot easier than these steps. It's gonna be a whole different experience to be here at our cabin. It's definitely rustic. We don't have running water. At least not like from a well. We bring water here. We have the wood stove for heat. We have the generator for electricity. We might do solar at some point, but if you look up, it's not a great spot for solar because this is fully covered in the summer. When I fly my drone over this property to get drone shots for videos, you can't see the cabin from above. So to try and use solar to run our system, we would almost have to trench a wire down into this open swamp down here. Back here it is open, but that's pretty far away from our cabin. So that's why we haven't done anything like that. We're not connected to anything here. There's no electrical hookups, there's no water hookups. I would love to do a sandpoint well at some point. Look at these mushrooms. That is so cool. They're like crunchy.
I haven't seen one of these in 6 years. I think they call it a blue spotted salamander.
What? That's for real?
Yeah.
You just found that? That is so cool.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're pretty rare around here. But like, I think this one's probably a female, but the males will have like blue spots all over.
What's it called?
I think it's called a blue spotted salamander, I'm not sure.
What a vibe. Firewood floors. The whole crew's here. Found the salamander. we're still waiting for the putty in the living room to dry. But we have this all sanded. And it looks really good. We're hoping that the putty will blend in when we put the finish on it. But if it doesn't, then we know that that's how that works. You could get putty that was stained different colors, but they came in these little tiny jars and wouldn't have gotten us anywhere. It was more for like if you have a little tiny woodworking project that you're working on. So we got this stuff. The other problem is all of our woods are different colors, so what color would you even get unless you had all of them? I also resanded our windowsills, so we'll have to finish those too. They kind of got gross. The finish we had on this wood and the windowsills was like maybe too thin, and so when it would get dirty you couldn't wipe it off to clean it. It would just stay like soaked in. So we're gonna put some new finish on the windowsills and hopefully make those easier to be cleaned in the future when they get dirty like they did. The next thing that we're gonna do is start to fill the bigger holes like these guys, and we're gonna fill those with epoxy. So we have to go get stuff from the camper. We need like a little container to put the epoxy in, like a single-use cup or bowl or something. And then we're gonna fill those holes with epoxy. So the epoxy is drying, our wood putty is drying, and then eventually, once everything's all dry, we'll be able to put some wood conditioner on and then the finish. We're gonna do as many coats of the finish as we can with the stuff that we bought. We should for sure be able to do 2 coats, maybe a third, we'll see. But the can says to do 2 to 3 coats. Ready, Alfred?
Mm-hmm. Nice to have a little bit of heat.
All right. Ethan's just wandering in the woods. Go find him.
He'll come back when he's hungry.
We have finished sanding the entire floor 2 times, and we have swept up the floor pretty well and tried to air it out. Now it's time to wipe down with a damp rag the entire cabin floor to get all of that extra dust off.
Lovely. Alright, where do you want her?
Won't the water ruin the wood though?
We're just putting a tiny bit up. Pretend you're like 5 years old and you're driving a truck around.
I didn't play with trucks.
Push it on around. See? Wow, look at that top.
This is hot.
Is that pretty or what?
But there's not that much water on it.
It's alright, just enough to get the dust to stick. We don't really want to get the
So
wood
good.
Like I'm just end up going.
You're doing great.
It's
What do I have to scrub? This is a good one. Ready? I think we found a hole.
It is filling.
Here's a good one.
That is a good one.
Ready?
Yeah. You feel like you're on the spot, Corey?
Clean your feet.
Got some really nice tools there. It's our fancy epoxy tools. Corey has officially filled all of the holes with epoxy, but because there's nothing in the bottom of these holes holding it other than like the ground, a lot of them are just like emptying from the bottom, so you kind of have to wait to let it harden so that when you pour more epoxy in, it sits on top of the base. So we kind of have to wait a little bit for some of them to dry so that you can refill what has ooged out. We also have firewood to make and food to eat.
We love
We're gonna have to sand the top off of all of these epoxy spots so that it's flush with the floor. So we're gonna wait for it to dry and then that'll be the next step. It feels so good to be this far. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. Come back next week to see the video on the second half of this weekend and the progress on the floors and all of our firewood.